Hey guys, we're going to be talking about subsection 5C in the PIP statute. So this is the part about timeliness of billing, okay, the 35-day rule. So I'll read it to you, and then we'll talk about the initiation of treatment form, which is an option. I don't really recommend doing the notice of initiation of treatment form. I'll explain why they have that rule there, but let me talk to you about the 35-day rule. So with respect to any treatment or service other than services billed by a hospital or emergency service provider, okay, the statement of charges, the bills, must be furnished to the insurer by the doctor's office and may not include, and the insurance company is not required to pay for treatment for charges rendered more than 35 days before the postmark date or the electronic transmission date, okay, except for there's an exception there for if the doctor billed it prior, okay, so let's say they billed it once, there was an error on the CMS 1500 form, they can still resubmit it, okay. The initial treatment, the initial submission of the bills within 35 days makes all the other bills timely for that date of service, okay. So I'll just read you that part again. They're not required to pay for charges, okay, rendered more than 35 days before the postmark or the electronic transmission date. So that means the doctor has 35 days to get it postmarked, okay, stamped, in order for it to be paid. Now, there's an exception to that rule, okay. One of them is if the doctor submitted the bills in first, on time, maybe they didn't attach their notes or something like that, that's still considered timely. Okay, now one exception to the rule is the initiation of treatment form, okay? So there's this form, if you're a young doctor, you weren't around the game 100 years ago like some of these guys watching the video, there used to be, back in the day, before 2003, there was no deadline to submit your bills, okay? It was like heaven. You would treat the patient for 4 months, okay? If you're a chiropractor, you treat them for 3 months, 4 months, whatever, and then you would just print up all your bills and your notes, and you just put in this big packet in the mail with a bow tie to Progressive and say, here you go, pay my bills. And they would pay your bills. There was also no no demand letter requirement back then. So you'd get a doctor who would rack up a bunch of bills and send it in, and the insurance company didn't have an opportunity to do an independent medical exam, do an examination under oath, not get any questions. They just figured, oh, we're not getting a bill. They called in a claim and that's it, okay? So then the insurance company said, listen, we're gonna do a 35-day rule. If the bills are not in within 35 days, they're late, we don't have to pay. That's what they wanted. That's what they got. The government legislation gave the doctors who were used to the old way, they gave them one extra exception, and I'll read it to you. And they said here, if the provider submits to the insurer a notice of initiation of treatment within 21 days after its first examination or treatment of the claimant, the statement may include charges for treatment or services rendered up to, but not more than 75 days before the postmark. So if within 21 days of first seeing that patient, the doctor sends in a one-page form, it says notice of initiation of treatment at the top, they send it in with a certified mail, they get a 75-day grace period to send in their bills. They could bomb them with 75 days worth of billing. Most doctors don't do that. I recommend doctors don't do that anymore. I recommend you stick with the original 35 days. Why? Benefits could exhaust. What happens if you miss 75 days worth of billing? You're out completely for that batch of bills, right? So I recommend you just bill within 35 days. Again, going old school, there was people out there before 2003 who didn't have that deadline, weren't used to it, so this was like an exemption for them. So if the insured, okay, the patient, fails to furnish the provider with the correct name and address of the PIP insurance information, okay, the doctor has 35 days from when they get that information. So let's say a patient comes in, you know some of these patients, they come in, they're like, I don't know, man, I got Progressive, I'll get you the card. They never get it. Doesn't mean that it's 35 days from when you get the notice of that information. How do you prove that? You have the patient sign something, you have their lawyer send you a letter, hey, we didn't give you the info before, here it is, and then you have the date, and you send that in with your bills showing, hey, this is why I was late, okay? So If by any chance they gave you bad information, said, oh, mail it to Progressive, but it was really with Geico, you would then submit the denial letter from the incorrect insurance company or provide proof of mailing, okay, showing that it was mailed to the incorrect insurance company. So thanks for watching. Appreciate you.